Hi, everyone. This is Pauline from Coffee Spicy. And I certainly was not expecting to go live this late on, well, it's now officially Christmas Eve. Um, but I figured I'd give it a shot um, because the one thing I like about YouTube is that the lives actually stay live. It doesn't matter how long. Yeah, it's still a little bit better than TikTok, but I am going to record on TikTok too, just so that people are aware over there too, because I'm trying to get my audience over here. So give me 1 second just to hit record. Um, so just so everybody knows, I'm recording on YouTube too, and I'd like you to please follow or subscribe to my channel, Chronically Spicy. Give me 1 second because I'm about to cough. I was itching my throat. Good Lord. All right. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest and tell you that I am working on learning how to do the split screen thing so you can actually see what I'm seeing when I'm reading this to you. Right now, the best I can do is on YouTube anyway. I've got two screens going, and I'm going to read this to you from livingallergic.com. The link to the story is in the description box, and that's where you can go to actually click on the news. It's from November 14th, 2023. All right. Advice to always go to the ER after an epi shot is set to change. After using the story is by Jennifer Goodwin. I'm a reporter myself, so I always feel it's important to uh, point that out. And published November 14th, 2023. After using an epinephrine auto-injector for anaphylaxis, patients have been told for years to call 911 and go to the emergency room. But new guidelines for allergists say that in many cases, it may be safe to stay home. Those situations include when symptoms to the allergic reaction quickly go away after using an epinephrine autoinjector. The stay-home advice would be aimed at patients who have a second epinephrine autoinjector on hand just in case symptoms return, a biphasic reaction. If the patient has used epinephrine promptly and has prompt, complete, and durable response to treatment, they don't really need to call EMS or go to the emergency department, says Dr. David Golden. He's a co-author of the revised guidelines called the 2023 Anaphylaxis Practice Parameters Update, which are soon to be published. So why is this a major change? The allergists and the task force who wrote the updated guidelines say that linking usage of an auto-injector with having to call 911 has led to hesitation to use epinephrine in serious reactions. Some people have avoided using epinephrine because they don't want to go to the emergency department. Understandable. The wee-woo van is a little bit pricey. In situations where anaphylaxis symptoms resolve quickly with epinephrine, there isn't much for doctors at the ER to do for patients anyway, says Dr. Marcus Shaker, a professor of pediatrics and medicine at the Geisel School of Medicine at Dartmouth. I'm pronouncing it. We're going to go with that. Needing to activate EMS created a barrier to epinephrine use for families, says Shaker, a co-chair of the Joint Task Force on the Practice Parameters. More often than that, what would happen is patients with resolved anaphylaxis would incur ambulance and emergency department costs, accompanied by prolonged and inconvenient hours waiting in an emergency department, all to be discharged without any additional intervention. Exactly. ER after epi, severe symptoms. The experts stress there are still plenty of situations where anaphylaxis symptoms do mean it's best to head to the emergency department. Patients should still call 911 if anaphylaxis symptoms are severe. They should also call 911 if symptoms of their allergic reaction don't go away completely or nearly completely. They should also call 911 if symptoms start to come back. We recommend absolutely to activate EMS if the reaction is severe or fails to resolve promptly or starts to return, says Golden, allergist, immunologist, and associate professor at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. The guidance stresses the importance of immediate access to a person who can provide help should the patient need it. The new practice parameters were developed by a task force representing the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, ACAAI, and the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, the AAAAI. Highlights were presented at the 2023 ACAAI annual meeting in California. Worries about biphasic reactions. Traditionally, food allergy and anaphylaxis action plans like this one from FAIR, which I will link in the description box, have recommended that allergy patients be transported to the ER after getting epinephrine, even if symptoms resolve. The patient should then remain in the ER for at least 4 hours because symptoms may return. Shaker says many allergists gave that recommendation and that it related to concerns about the risk of biphasic reactions. That's the recurrence of symptoms hours after the first symptoms have passed. But newer research shows that biphasic reactions aren't all that common. About 98% of allergic reactions get better after 1 or 2 doses of epinephrine, and one meta-analysis found that fewer than 4% of reactions reoccur. Notice we're talking about actual IgE-mediated allergies here, not MCAS. That's a separate topic. Allergists were finding that their abundance of caution had an unanticipated consequence, Shaker said. Getting patients or caregivers to use epinephrine promptly was the ultimate goal, yet telling families that they should always call 911 after autoinjector use sent the message that epinephrine is a dangerous medication, says Julie Wang, a professor of pediatrics at allergy at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. In a survey that she and her colleagues conducted, about 4% of parents specifically cited not wanting to call 911 or go to the ER as a reason for not using the autoinjector when symptoms called for it. As well, 7% said they were worried about the epinephrine itself. Epinephrine is, in fact, very safe to use in most patients. We have noticed in the practice that families tie the 2 points. Once I use Epi, I have to call 911. They think epinephrine is dangerous enough that I need to call 911, or if I don't go to the ER, I should not give Epi, Wing says. ER after Epi, when else to go? Even when anaphylaxis symptoms appear relatively mild, the experts note there is still much to consider when deciding whether to call 911 or not. To start with, the new recommendations apply specifically to the home. Wing says if anaphylaxis occurs at school, the recommendations will still be to call EMS. Even inside the home, if a child or adult is home alone or a long distance from a hospital, call EMS. Updated guidelines say to do the same if the patient has a history of severe or near fatal anaphylaxis. Examples are those whose previous anaphylaxis has had to be treated with more than 2 shots of epi, hospitalization, and intubation. Patients experiencing an allergic reaction should never feel that they shouldn't call 911 and go to the ER. This is not intended to make anyone feel uncomfortable. If someone wanted to call EMS, they absolutely should. Physicians and patients with allergies need to discuss their plan and make decisions together, she says. They should always make sure they have at least 2 auto-injectors on hand, are comfortable with using them, and recognize the symptoms of anaphylaxis. You can read the rest of the story on my YouTube channel, Chronically Spicy. Please subscribe, and I'll see you there. All right, now to finish reading. If a teen was home alone and having anaphylaxis and had self-administered, waiting at home might not be a good idea, Wing says. Cost of ER after Epi. Wang, Golden, Shaker, and other practice parameter authors also weighed the cost of ER visits for anaphylaxis symptoms that had resolved. Patients and insurers pay for the ambulance transport and fees for being observed for hours in the emergency department. A 2019 study by Shaker and colleagues examined the cost of using the ER for medical observation after peanut allergy reactions that were treated and promptly resolved. They concluded there was minimal benefit and excessive costs. Shaker says that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the low value proposition of waiting in an emergency department and for several hours when you don't have symptoms really became clear. The risk of infection made us consider how much benefit patients were getting out of this kind of observation. The Canadian Society of Allergy and Clinical Immunology recently adopted guidelines similar to the task force parameters on home management of food-induced anaphylaxis without calling EMS. Will this boost auto-injector use? One hope for change of not insisting on automatic transport to the ER is encouraging more people to use Epi auto-injectors when needed. Epi auto-injectors are the best treatment for halting severe allergic reactions, yet people often hesitate to use them. As a Epipen carrier myself, I'm going to take a moment just to say, make sure you have a rescue plan created with your doctor for you that is specific to you for your situation. I have mast cell activation syndrome and multiple allergies. So my rescue action plan is not going to look exactly the same as yours or anyone else's. But definitely rescue plans are essential because you need to know what to do in case something does happen. Let's see. So, let's go back over here. Shaker says that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the low value proposition of waiting in an emergency department for several hours when you don't have symptoms really became clear. We read that part. All right, so moving on. The Canadian Society of Allergy and Clinical Immunology recently adopted guidelines similar to the task force parameters on home management of food-induced anaphylaxis. Okay, will this boost? Okay, so one hope for change on insisting on automatic transport to the ER is encouraging more people to use Epi, right? Yeah, people often hesitate to use them. So the most positive thing about this change is it will likely encourage more people to use Epi and use it early because they won't feel they have to go to the ER if they use it, notes Dr. James Baker, director of the Mary H. Weiser Food Allergy Center at the University of Michigan. The updated parameters are to be published in an upcoming issue of Annals of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. So there you go. This is, it doesn't state when that article is going to be published, but if you're in Epi, I would definitely talk to your allergist. And if you do not currently have a rescue plan in place with your physicians and the rest of your care team, please do so. Make sure you stay safe. And thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future videos. Have a good day.